Anesthesiologists, what are the best things people have said under the gas? Subscribe for more Reddit content. Happened today. Patient has a broken ankle fixed and was coming out of anesthesia when he was being wheeled out. The anesthesiologist accidentally hit the door frame on the way out. Patient, did you just do surgery on my leg? Anesthesiologist, yes, you had surgery and are waking up from it. Patient, then why are you running into things? I was a patient. I went in the Getter MRI at 7. They injected me with something and I said, wow, that made me really sleepy. Then the doctor said, fuck, I shouldn't be able to talk. I still haven't told anyone I remember that. I'm pretty sure my mother was in the room, but IDK. In high school I had a reconstructive surgery on my knee as I tore my ACL and meniscus in a sports injury. After the surgery I woke up in post-op, which was a fairly large room with probably 6 to 7 other patients in beds waiting to become conscious again. I was lying there all groggy and confused when 2 nurses walked over pushing one of those carts with a computer on it. They stood over me and were typing into the computer when one nurse said to the other in a sort of frantic whisper, we've got to plug this thing in or this one is going to die. Naturally, semi-conscious me thought that the thing was me and I started to incoherently yell for the nurses to unplug whatever they needed to in order to find an outlet to keep me alive. Turns out it was the battery on the laptop that was going to die. Apparently the death rate for an ACL repair is pretty low. I was about to be put under for a colonoscopy while the nurse was trying to position me in a way to make it easiest for them to work. I had my knees to my chest and was passing out from the gas when I asked the nurse to paint me like one of her French girls, then passed out. Still makes me cringe. Not an anesthesiologist, but when my stepdad was going under for a surgery, he was almost out, but at a sweet point that the doctor told my mom she could ask him anything and he wouldn't be able to help but answer truthfully. She asked, do you love me? My stepdad replied, you need to go on and get your little Yoda shoes. I'm pretty sure Yoda doesn't even wear shoes. Dick move by the doctor. Imagine if the guy answered no. Not anesthesia, but patient was heavily sedated and IQ. Nurse gave an enema, half-conscious response. Honey, you know I don't like it that way. I had a patient start a joke before surgery and finish it when they woke up without prompting. I can just imagine it going, like, what do you call a guy with a rubber toe? Hours later, Roberto. 2 of my fav, both patients coming out of anesthesia. Am I in hell? I responded, no you're not, you're just in recovery. That sounds like something the devil would say. Count backwards from 100 to prove it. Or the one who stroked my unshaved arm while I was trying to keep him from pulling at his 4th and muttered, you'd make such a great carpet. Not an anesthesiologist, but when I severely dislocated and broke my knee I apparently gave one of the doctors that was just finishing resetting my leg a huge slap on the back and yelled, it's fixed. You guys are the best doctors I've ever seen. Giving a 5-star review. Wife said the nurses were cracking up. I'm a pretty big guy and the doctor I gave the friendly pat on the back was a relatively small dude. I was given a relaxer prior to colonoscopy and was rolled into the room. Doctor asked me what I had done that weekend. I said I went to the MN State Fair. Oh, she says eat anything interesting. I said why, don't you tell me, no laughter whatever in the room. And then I was out. I swear she gave an extra shove because I half woke up during the procedure and remember groaning. When I was about to go out for surgery, they were strapping me down and told me it was so that I don't fall off the table. My last words were, it's okay, 5-second rule. My brother, when he came out of surgery after being on heavy sedation, wanted to draw a picture because Yo Gabba Gabba was on and they were drawing pictures. I gave him a pen and paper and after 5 minutes I ask, what did you draw? He smiles and holds up a picture, if a bottle of mustard. He was 17 at the time. Edit. Wow, my first silver and gold, thank you so much. As a bonus, my brother also thought the blood pressure cuff they had on his arm was a pet octopus. He told us on the way home from the hospital we will need to stop at the pet store to get supplies. I broke my hand tumbling once and had to get surgery. He goes to put the mask on my face and says this is oxygen. I cough as the mask goes on. He pulls the mask away, and I said, I trusted you. You lying fuck. That's the last thing I remember. My husband went under last year, and once he woke up, by our appearances he was as sober as a church mouse. Walking, asking serious questions of the doctor, apparently no issues at all. He remembered the procedure, and described it to me in detail. I figured he just never went completely under. He was craving Chinese food, and nothing would do except for buffet, so we headed down, and loaded up our first load of plates. Evidently, he actually woke up from the anesthesia at the buffet. As far as he remembers, he was put under, and woke up in front of a plate of chicken teriyaki on a stick. I went under for a nasal canal surgery, and apparently after the surgery I was holding the nurse's hand, and repeating I love you, don't leave me over and over. Last year they were knocking me out for a colonoscopy. It was the third time I had been put under in a year. As such I had a curiosity. I had heard that when they knock you out you are still awake for a while, you just don't remember. So in the spirit of science I proposed a test with the anesthesiologist. When she started the medicine I would begin counting backward. When I would wake up we would compare what I remembered to what she observed. Plunge it down. 99, 98, 97. I remembered nothing more. Minutes later I awoke. The anesthesiologist espied me and came over quickly. What did you remember? She asked. 97. She began laughing. You got down to 7. When I got put under for a colonoscopy I didn't really fall asleep during the countdown. I just looked at the nurse a bit confused and said, I don't notice anything. And she smiled and squeezed my wrist and said, just give it a moment. As soon as she said that I started fading out, and according to her the last thing I mumbled was, oh that's fucked, you magic witch. Not an anesthesiologist, but as I was going under for my shoulder recon, I realized the surgeons were blasting Back in Black by AC/DC, and I said hey, is that AC/DC? Super confused, thought I lost the plot, and the surgeon comes over me, face mask and surgical goggles on, looks me dead in the eye and says of course. What else are we going to rock out to while we operate? 1 second later I passed out. Nurse anesthetist here. When I was in school I was getting ready to get a lady off to sleep and going through my regular spiel. I had the mask on her face and I said, nice big breaths as I pushed propofol. Right before she went out she said thanks, I just had them done. I looked at my preceptor, we looked at the circulator, and we all burst out laughing. I now say, slow deep breaths instead. I love telling that story. That lady made all our days. When I woke up from surgery, the doctors asked if I wanted anything to eat. You got those crackers that come in packs of 6 with the cheese? No, we don't have those. Oh fuck man, that's bullshit. We have the peanut butter ones, though. Ah, yeah, bitchin'. Not an anesthesiologist, but when I went in for my gallbladder surgery the nurse was an old cow walker, and I blurted out on the table I knew you'd see me naked before I was out. My wife is an anesthesiologist and her best line from a patient is this is better than meth. When I was 9 and having jaw surgery, the surgeon was putting me under and said say bye to your mommy. And apparently 9-year-old me thought that meant they were going to kill me. My mother says I gave her a look of absolute terror and then passed out. I had surgery last week for the first time. Apparently, right after they gave me the drugs I started talking about how cute my boyfriend's butt is. I was telling this to 3 male doctors. I had to go under for ear surgery once. I thought it'd be funny if I asked, does anyone need anything while I'm out, right before I went under. I remember it kicking in way quicker than I thought it would, so I had to take my chance while I still had it. I yelled it, but got a very confused look from everyone standing around me. Took a minute for me to realize I had accidentally yelled it while I was waking up from surgery. Oops. Kind of a reverse story. Going under to get my appendix removed, they begin doing the countdown as they inject a hefty dose of propofol and fentanyl to put me out. I count down to 1 and then ask, now what? The surgeon looks at me and says you're still awake. Man, you are fat, you know that? I said, you're just saying that because you think I won't remember. He said, exactly. That's the last thing I remember. Thanks for watching, and do remember to smash that like button. And if you are new here, Please subscribe for more. Welcome to Reddit TV.